The number 24 Kansas Jayhawks are heading to Austin on Saturday to face the number 3 Texas Longhorns. Why is the Kansas offense finding success once again? Has the Jayhawk defense improved from last year? And most importantly, what does Texas need to do to stay undefeated? After the show, make sure to head over to Inside Texas. Stay up to date on your favorite team with high-level pre- and post-game analysis, constant recruiting intel, and the latest happenings inside the program. Make sure to subscribe to InsideTexas.com today. Link in the description. Kansas is a solid team, and someone's undefeated record has to come to an end. So can Texas stay locked in and handle business in DKR? Without further ado, let's get into it. Kansas offensive coordinator Andy Kotelnicki's offensive diversity is unmatched in its blend of personnel groupings and variety of plays on the call sheet. The Kansas offense keeps opposing defenses on the back foot and constantly guessing, ranking as the most consistent offense in the Big 12 and 4th overall in the nation. These manageable downs leave all play calls on the table, and this balance of the run and pass paired with creative design makes this offense tough to prep for and defend. With a well thought out scheme adding value, it also doesn't hurt to have a quarterback that can maximize it. And junior quarterback Jalen Daniels has full command of this robust offense. He's got the arm to make any throw, the decisiveness to get the ball out on single reads, the discipline to operate options correctly, the patience for receivers to open up downfield, and the legs to extend plays. This offense moves the ball methodically, not overly reliant on the shot play. Daniels is great with his pre-snap and post-snap reads, and he leads the Big 12 in short completion percentage. They get their chunk plays from the intermediate range of 10 to 19 yards, where 3 of 5 of Daniels' touchdowns have come from. He's the second most accurate passer in the Big 12 in the middle of the field, able to decipher the clutter of linebackers and safeties and get to one of his many receivers. About 15% of the time, Kansas will try to go for the deep shot over 20 yards, but this is where the offense hasn't been efficient. Daniels isn't stellar here, ranking 10th of 17 Big 12 quarterbacks, only completing 36.4% with no touchdowns, and this is where his sole interception came from. And that's all just his throwing ability. He can extend plays with his legs, sidestepping rushers or rolling out, all while staying pass first, trying to create something out of nothing. And oftentimes he does find a receiver to complete the pass to, and if the coverage does hold up, he can just scramble for a first down. That athleticism also allows Daniels to be utilized in quarterback-designed runs at any part of the field. The risk is he's injury-prone, and racking up hits isn't ideal, so it's to be used sparingly. Daniels is a natural playmaker, and this can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes he needs to throw it away and live for another down. He's second in the league in time to throw due to him holding onto the ball, searching for that big completion, and it allows the rush to get home, with Daniels having the 3rd highest pressure to sack rate. But on the flip side, this drive to keep fighting is also what makes him a headache for opposing defenses, so I think it all balances out in the end. Daniels is an impressive quarterback and a perfect system for his skill set. Big picture, overall in the Big 12, he's 4th in yards per attempt, 2nd in completion percentage, and the 1st graded quarterback in the league through week 4. In order to keep defenses off kilter, you need to spread the ball around in the pass game, and Kansas achieves this with their 3 main receivers. Their target share is very similar, and all 3 are used short, intermediate, and deep roughly the same amount. So you really don't know who's going to get the ball and where. First in targets is the 6'3", 200-pound junior Lawrence Arnold with 19 targets, catching an impressive 18 of those for a league-leading 94.7% catch rate. Arnold's an athletic outside receiver, and he's excellent at moving the sticks and keeping the offense chugging along, doing his best work at shorter ranges with a low 9.4 yards average depth of target. Currently, he's the 16th graded receiver in the Big 12. Second in targets is the long 6'5", 195-pound outside receiver Quentin Skinner with 18. The junior is most likely to be utilized on the deep ball due to that insane frame that can moss even the tallest of corners. But out of those 4 deep targets on the year, he's only been able to pull down just 1. He's not purely a deep threat, though, leading the team in that intermediate range as well, able to stride down the middle of the field on those crossers, catching 4 of 6, and being a good release valve with that insane catch radius. But overall, he's the 15th graded receiver in the league. Third in targets with 17, but first in effectiveness is junior slot receiver Luke Grimm. He's the most unassuming physically of the bunch at 6 foot even and 195 pounds. But sleeping on him means you're giving up points. He leads the team with 3 touchdowns, good for second in the league, and Daniels has a way of finding him slipping behind people in the red zone for the score. Overall, Luke Grimm is the 4th highest graded receiver in the conference. That's an opposing trio of productive receivers, and it's hard to pin down who's going to get the ball next schematically. But on top of that, you've got to watch out for the tight ends that'll occasionally slip out for the key pickup. Adding to a long list of tall pass catchers is the 6'4", 260-pound senior tight end, Mason Fairchild. He's more of that traditional receiving tight end build, and he's pulled in 8 receptions on the year, averaging 13.5 yards per reception. Overall, he's the 9th graded receiving tight end in the Big 12. And 5th in targets is tight end Jared Casey in their 12 personnel looks. Yes, the Jared Casey that caught the 2-point conversion to beat Texas at home 2 seasons ago. And he's more of that fullback build at 6 foot 255, and his primary responsibility is to bully dudes in the run blocking game. But as Texas fans know all too well, they can use that perception against you and sneak him out for the crucial grab. But overall, Casey ranks 16th of 17 receiving tight ends. The offense likes to get the ball out fast, so that helps out offensive lines holding up against the pass rush. The Kansas offensive line ranks 5th in the Big 12 in pass blocking efficiency as a unit, giving up 4 sacks and 11 hurries for 15 total pressures. It's a strong unit individually with 4 guys in the top 20, with redshirt senior left tackle Dominic Pooney graded as the 2nd best pass blocking offensive lineman. Rotational guard Kobe Baines ranks 14th. Right guard Michael Ford Jr., who went down versus BYU, ranks 19th, and starting right tackle Bryce Cabledew ranks 20th. Then there's a drop-off with the redshirt senior starting center Mike Nowitzki ranking 43rd, and redshirt sophomore starting left guard Armaj Reed Adams ranking 76th of 79 pass-blocking Big 12 linemen. So send your blitz at the left guard and center on passing downs. It's a good passing offense, ranking 17th in the nation in yards per attempt at 9.4, and they're super consistent. Successful on 61% of pass plays for 3rd overall in the nation. And some of that is due to them picking their spots, not being overly reliant on the pass. In fact, they're 106th in the nation in pass attempts per game overall, with only 25. And that's because their run game is the core of this offense. This run game is a bear to defend. Inside, outside runs, power, counter, zone reads, speed option, it's all there, including the motion eye candy to get defenders out of their gaps. And once again, you have a schematic advantage giving a natural edge, but then you pair that with effective backs. First in attempts with 57 is the 5'11", 215-pound junior Devin Neal. He's a smooth, decisive runner with a nice jump cut to adjust to the right hole. Neal is averaging an insane 6.9 yards per carry, good for 2nd in the league, with a league-leading 5 touchdowns. He's the full package with an impressive 50% breakaway percentage, able to bust long runs, good for top 5 in the Big 12. And then on top of that, Neal is top 10 in yards after contact per attempt, able to run through tacklers. But what's more nuts is their 2nd-string running back, redshirt sophomore Daniel Highshaw, is also performing at a high level. He's built like a bowling ball at 5'10", 220 pounds. So if they get him going downhill, somebody's getting ran over. But he's not some lumbersome dude. He's able to make athletic moves for that body type. He's averaging an impressive 6.7 yards per attempt with 3 touchdowns, but he does have 2 fumbles. Highshaw is top 5 in yards after contact and 4th in breakaway percentage as well. That's 2 incredibly productive backs aided by a varied and effective run scheme. That's how you get the most out of already talented players. So the run is their bread and butter in which everything runs through, literally. And Kansas's offensive line is doing their job. They rank first in the Big 12 and 7th in the nation for average offensive line yards, with 3.72 yards per run. But they do have a weakness in those short yardage situations, only completing 72% of their power runs, ranking 7th in the Big 12 and 82nd in the country. The Jayhawks have 4 guys in the top 20, with starting left guard Armaj Reed Adams at 11th, rotational guard Kobe Baines at 13th, starting right tackle Bryce Cabledew at 14th, and starting left tackle Dominic Pooney at 16th. Overall, this is a formidable offense that has taken a small step backwards from their numbers last season, but they're still dangerous, picking up an average of 6.7 yards per play for 19th in the nation. Their scheme is their main weapon, but add skilled players to that mix, and it can be a long game if you don't come correct. The keys for the Texas defense are clear. Stop the run. Texas is 11th in the nation in run defense, only allowing opposing offenses rushing success on 30% of runs and giving up 2.7 yards per rush, good for 12th in the country. This is the best rushing attack we have seen by far statistically, so it's time for good to meet good. Stay disciplined in your gap when they get tricky and run them over when they try to go heads up. In the pass rush, they like to get the ball out quickly and beware the screen pass when you get overly aggressive. The Jayhawks do a good job to minimize the opposing team pinning their ears back, but when it is time for the drop back game, stay disciplined in your rush lanes and keep Daniels in the pocket. Jalen Milroe is a more explosive, pure athlete, but Daniels is a far more calculated runner. When Daniels does want to extend the play, get home or force the errant throw. In pass coverage, Texas is susceptible to the speed guys, but Kansas employs larger receivers that are easier to keep up with than, say, a Monterey Baldwin at Baylor or an Isaiah Bond at Alabama. Texas is still a good coverage unit, only giving up 6.3 yards per pass attempt, good for 34th in the country. But you'll have to cover for a while when Daniels extends plays, and this Kansas scheme can employ several receiving options at all levels of the field. Don't get caught with your eyes in the backfield or let their tall guys go up and get it. Kansas wants to keep the ball on offense and execute long, precise drives and limit the Texas offense from getting on the field, condensing the game against the Texas offense that already doesn't run a lot of plays per game. The Texas defense needs to disrupt drives and get punts or turnovers to stifle this strategy. We can't allow them to milk clock going up and down the field. The Kansas offense is the star of the show, but the other side of the ball is making strides from being a total liability last year. But before we hit the defense, the sponsor of today's video is Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a skill-based daily fantasy sports app where you can make college football player projections all season long. How does it work? You select 2 to 6 players and choose more or less on their Prize Pick projections. It could be passing yards, rushing yards, receiving yards, and more. And if those players score more or less than their Prize Pick projection, you can win up to 25 times your money on any entry. Just hop on the Prize Picks app or website, go to the college football tab, and check out the player projections. It's a smooth process where you can make your entries in 60 seconds or less with fast withdrawals. It's that easy. As a first-time depositor, use promo code TexasHomer, and you will receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100. That's double your money up to $100 for your first time. So sign up for Prize Picks, use promo code TexasHomer at sign up, and add even more excitement to your game day. Link in the description. Defensive coordinator Brian Borland this offseason said he was tired of the defense being the weak link and that they would work to become a more well-rounded squad. In 2022, they were the 105th ranked defense in DFEI. This year, they're hoping to get that to a more respectable number. In the run game, Kansas absolutely shut down BYU last week, holding them to a horrendous 9 yards rushing on 22 attempts. They were 89th in opponent yards per rush heading into that game, and now Kansas ranks 39th, allowing just 3.4 yards per carry. Was that just an inspired performance or something more consistent? We don't know yet. They certainly have a knack for causing fumbles even if they struggle to recover them. On the interior, rotating defensive tackle Tommy Dunn Jr. is their highest graded interior run defender at 8th, followed by starting nose Devin Phillips at 17th of 46 interior run stoppers. Over on the wing, starting left defensive end Hayden Hatcher ranks 10th, and rotational linebacker slash edge hybrid Austin Booker ranks 16th of 43 edge run defenders. On the second level, Will J.B. Brown is 11th, and Mike Rich Miller is 13th of 38 run-stopping linebackers. The secondary is doing an excellent job against the run, with the starting corner Kobe Bryant ranking as the first graded run-stopping DB. Even with his skinny frame, he's down to scrap, laying a massive hit against BYU last week and getting a scoop and score from it. Boundary safety Kenny Logan Jr. ranks 3rd, and rotational free safety Marvin Grant ranks 14th of 93 secondary run defenders. In the pass rush, Kansas hasn't played any top 40 passing offenses, but they have done well, averaging 3.7 sacks per game, good for 9th in the nation. Rotational defensive tackle Tommy Dunn Jr. ranks as the 6th best pass rusher of the interior guys, with starting defensive tackle DJ Withers ranking 21st of 51. The more pass rushing focused rotational end Austin Booker is the first graded pass rushing edge in the league so far, with 3 sacks, winning on 17% of his rushes. But that's it for the top half. I expected starting right defensive end Robinson to be ranked higher with his 3 sacks on the year, but he has a low 9% win rate. Due to that, he's 38th of 52 edges overall in the pass rush. At linebacker, Will J.B. Brown is top half at 16th, and he's notched 2 sacks and 3 hurries. In the secondary, be aware they'll send nickel Craig Young from that slot corner position a few times per game. Kansas has also improved statistically in coverage, giving up 6.7 yards per attempt for 44th in the country. Their secondary has grown up with each other these past several years, and now that whole group are upperclassmen and showing more aggression and assignment confidence. They are especially good at tip drills when the QB misthrows or a ball bounces off a receiver's hands. Don't be lazy chunking it around versus this group because they can make you pay. On the second level, Will J.B. Brown is 10th of 43 coverage linebackers. In the secondary, starting corner Kobe Bryant is the 7th ranked coverage defender with 2 interceptions on the season. Starting free safety Marvin Grant is 20th, and he's only allowed 55% of passes to be completed against him. Opposite starting corner Mello Dotson is 22nd with 1 pick. Starting boundary safety Kenny Logan Jr. is ranked 48th with a big pick 6 versus BYU. And starting nickel Craig Young is 60th, with rotational free safety OJ Burrows at 92nd of 103 coverage DBs. Overall, this isn't some great performing defense, but through their first 4 games, they have shown some good moments, especially in the BYU game. They're in that 70-ish average range for key stats like defensive success rate, defensive line yards, defensive EPA per play, etc. So they do look to be improved from their awful defense last year. But we ultimately need to see this unit continue into conference play to really see if they've made those strides. And now the keys for the Texas offense. Kansas stood tall against BYU's run game last week, but let's test that again since Bijan went first round pick all over them last year. Our rushing offense is still super inconsistent, ranking 88th in the nation, but the numbers tend to improve later in the game as our offensive line leads on the D-line, and we know Brooks can land the explosive run a couple times per game. Overall, we're the 44th ranked rushing offense in yards per attempt at 4.4. We need to utilize our receivers and tight ends to generate matchups. If Kansas finds success on offense and chews game clock, we got to be able to score fast. Kansas's corners are game, but they have given up some deep shots, and no one is winning versus Worthy and AD consistently. And of course, JT Sanders will be a key matchup problem. And BYU utilized their tight end really well on key drives last week. Quinn just can't be lazy with his mechanics or lofting the ball too much, because the secondary is aggressive and turnovers will condense this game even more than the Kansas offense already does. In totality, this isn't the wow, isn't it cute Kansas is winning games thing anymore. This is a legitimate team that poses legitimate threat to anyone in the conference. The Longhorns can't forget that loss at home 2 years ago when we went 5-7. Kansas is motivated just like UT is, and you know their game plan will be solid. But can the more talented Texas team use their superior firepower to beat this ascending Kansas program? That's what we get to find out this Saturday afternoon when the Jayhawks come to Austin. Thanks for hanging out. Watch some more of my videos here. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to support quality Texas content. As always, hook 'em.